This video is powered by the pros at Collier Plumbing and Electric. Arkansas owned, Arkansas operated. GoPascal.com.
All right, I think we got Jackson with us. Jackson Collier from HawgBeat's, covering Arkansas basketball on the Rivals Network. Jackson, appreciate you joining us today. How are you?
Man, I'm doing great. How are y'all doing?
Doing all right, man. Doing all right. Excited about this basketball game tomorrow night. Arkansas versus South Carolina. A lot of folks right now are thinking it's Arkansas versus officials. And I understand you go on the road, chances are the calls aren't going to go your way. And I tend to lean, I think the way that you view it, Jackson, is that there are always other things that you can point to outside of officiating for a reason why a team will lose a game. And that the officiating isn't usually as bad as one team's fans seem to view it. But the people don't want to hear that a lot. So I guess that makes you somewhat brave to be writing columns about that.
I was about to say, I found out over the past week, especially yesterday and today with the column, that people, especially Arkansas fans, do not want to hear about officials not being the reason for losing games or taking the stance that there's no vendetta by officials against the Arkansas program. It is like you said, growing up as a competitor, as a basketball player, as all these other things, like every coach I ever had, when we lost, it was never about, the officials missed this call or this. Like I vividly remember there are 3 games that a call at the very end of the game did have some sort of an impact, adverse impact, whatever you want to call it. But again, I still stand by the stance that no matter what that call is, whether it's a good call, whether it's a bad call, you have 40 minutes, 48 minutes in the NBA, however many minutes you have of game time to prevent the officials being in a position to make that call that determines the outcome. Control what you can control. You can't control officials. You can control 17 turnovers. You can control shooting 50% from the free throw line. You can control all those things. You can't control what call the official's going to make most of the time.
Jack Nicklaus said the more he practices, the luckier he gets. And I see that with Devo. Devo kind of being the leader, having his identity on his fingerprint on this team. How big is that stepping up when Devo's the first guy into the gym, the last guy into the gym? Those younger guys, as a freshman, you need to be able to look up to one of the upperclassmen. And Devo's a guy that's a high-energy guy, maximum effort guy, and now be kind of that vocal leader for this team.
Seeing a junior leader like Devo still putting in the work, getting extra shots up, getting extra hours in the gym, even though he's already been to the Elite Eight twice, his work ethic has only gotten stronger. So when you come in as a McDonald's All-American, you come in as a 4-star freshman, like all of these were 4-star and 5-star freshmen, you look at that and you're like, man, he knows what he's doing. We got to work to be great. And it's obviously paid off for Devo. I think over the last 7 games, he's shooting over 40% from 3. So he's on his hottest streak as a Razorback. I think he's averaging over 16 points a game in that stretch, too, rebounding well, still defending at a really high level. So him taking over a leadership role in this team, it's really elevated his own game. It's elevated everybody else around him, too. Anthony Black's really stepped up. Ricky Council has had a re-emergence kind of over the last couple of games after a short lull. So I think it really speaks volumes what Devo means to this team and the leadership that he provides, and it really has helped turn around the season.
And it's funny you mention Ricky. I love Ricky's game. The thing I like about our guards, Jackson, is they're all unselfish. They really don't care who scores, although Ricky is our horse. But he's a willing passer as well, and I think that's why this team is able to shoot such a high field goal percentage.
Oh, 100% agree. I think sometimes they are too unselfish,
right.
though. I think sometimes it's a good philosophy to have. You want to pass up a good shot for a great shot, but when that shot clock's winding down, you have a good shot. You don't want to keep passing around and have to force something up. So maybe a little too unselfish at times, but that's not the worst problem to have in the world. If you're having all these guards, Anthony Black, a potential lottery pick in the NBA draft, Davonte Davis playing like an all-SEC caliber guard, Ricky Council, former 6th man of the year in the American Conference and playing really well, like a 3rd or 4th leading scorer in the SEC. And you have all those guys, all that talent, and you're sitting here saying, well, they might be too unselfish sometimes. That's not exactly an issue.
Yes or no, Mikal Mitchell, when healthy, can be a guy that can impact the team in the way that Trey Wade did last year. Now, I don't see Mikal being a guy that, when you least expect it, drops 20 like you saw Wade do a couple of times last season. But he's incredibly strong, defends the basket well. You loved all the blocked shots. I mean, there's just an aspect of how he plays that, you're looking for a forward that you can count on right now. You know what I mean? Like, you feel really good about your backcourt. With your front court, you're still kind of searching a little bit since Brazile went out. Makai, I think, is a guy you can count on. Graham, I don't know very much. I think you get uneven performances from Graham. Mikal, with the thought that you put him in there and you're going to get solid defense, you'll rebound well as long as he stays out of foul trouble. Like, we were looking, Jackson, for some sort of change in the lineup. Must even hinted about lineup changes. We're wondering, well, who's it going to be? It was Wade last year. Could it be Mikal this year?
It certainly seemed that way. I mean, I think you look at Mikal, and, his minutes have gone up against bigger opponents, and he's really thrived in that role. I mean, obviously, you're playing bigger opponents in the SEC, against Alabama, against Vanderbilt, and most recently against Texas A&M. And I feel like when they go those bigger lineups, when they play both the Twins either together or they interchange them, I feel like it's one of the two of them really has a breakout game. And more often than not, it's Makai. Last night it was, not last night, but Tuesday it was Mikal. And, I mean, he almost put up a solo triple-double. He had 9 points, 13 rebounds, 7 blocks. I mean, that's pretty incredible. I think the way that he plays and what makes him so good is that he has great size. He's 6'10", 6'11", but he's also pretty built. He's physical. But he's light on his feet. So he can – I think the reason he can block so many shots is obviously he has really good feel for the game. He can read defenses really well. I think he's light on his feet and gets off the floor a lot faster than opponents really expect him to. And that is huge. And also, I mean, both the Twins are just glass cleaners. They have insanely high rebounding rates, rebounding percentages. They're invaluable, securing possessions, closing out possessions for other teams, and then now they're starting to rebound on the offensive glass too, and creating more possessions for Arkansas. I think you look at back to the original question about Mikal Mitchell. He has really started honing his game on the rebounding end on both ends of the floor. And that's like an intricate role player like Trey Wade. There were times last year where Eric Musselman was like, well, Trey, we need to get you in the stat column. You didn't record a stat. You're playing good defense. You're being physical. You didn't have any rebounds. You didn't have any assists. Didn't have any points. Then right after, Musselman kind of mentioned that in a press conference, then you saw Trey Wade getting like 5 rebounds and 4 points and a couple assists and like starting to piece together that role and find that role that he needed to fill while being productive as well. I think Mikal is doing that now. It's taken him a little bit, and now he's starting to rebound really well. He's still blocking shots really well. He's a really good interior defender.
Coach Nutt, I know it's different sports, but they're about halfway through the season. He'd say it's time for the freshmen to not be freshmen anymore. And I say that to say we need to go get a road win. Do they sense that? Is there any heavy feelings on their back? I mean, they don't get this win. You kind of look, where is it going to be? So they can kind of get that monkey off their back. And it starts to get heavy when you don't win any games on the road.
Oh, yeah, for sure. This is a game that you really cannot lose this game. I mean, it's on the road in a high major basketball conference in the SEC, conference opponent. And South Carolina's so bad, it's still a quad 4 game. You drop this one, and your NCAA tournament hopes are bleak. I think they're really pushing the narrative that they're not going to look down on South Carolina no matter how bad they are. They're not going to overlook the opponent. They're going to go in, they're going to do business, and they're going to do everything they can to secure a win, because that'll be 4 conference wins in a row. That'll be their first road victory in conference. And, maybe that breeds more confidence. We saw that after LSU and Ole Miss. A lot of people were talking about, those are bottom dwellers, basement dwellers in the SEC. Winning those games at home doesn't really do much. Fair point, but this team was struggling to find wins, and they won. built a lot of confidence, dang near beat Baylor at Baylor, and then come back and you beat Texas A&M. It's all about building confidence. Winning a game on the road, regardless of the opponent, would do wonders for the psyche of this team.
Is can't lose the same as must win? Are these in the exact same category?
I don't know. I mean, I would probably put them right there beside each other. I mean, a win won't help you as much as a loss would hurt you. So I guess that's why I phrased it as a can't lose. But if you don't lose, then you're going to win. So.
Yeah. What about South Carolina should Arkansas or fans be worried about for this game? Because, I think a lot of fans look at the record, look at the amount of points that Carolina's been losing games by, and just sort of paper over this. Of course, they're going to watch it and everything, but you go in like almost expecting a blowout. At least I do. And the team's going to look at it in a much different way. They got to scout. They got to treat this opponent as if they're incredibly dangerous. So what would they be looking at today?
Well, obviously, they have a really, really talented freshman in Gigi Jackson. He is, bar none, he was one of the top recruits coming out of high school, and he has really played well this year. He always has that scoring threat, the rebounding threat, really do-it-all threat. So he's one guy, and Musselman has been great in his time at Arkansas at kind of removing an opponent's best player from really making as big of an impact as they normally do. So I think that's one thing to look out for, is kind of removing Gigi Jackson from making an impact. So Musselman also talked about in his presser previewing, South Carolina's a good scoring team. They can shoot the ball from the perimeter, sometimes get to the free throw line, all that sort of stuff. So can't just relax on defense or anything. Still got to contest the threes and try to shut down Gigi Jackson.
Yeah, I'm with you. Don't let them hang around. Get up there, try to get a 7-8 point lead, and just kind of keep it there, because it's going to be a game of runs. And when you're on the road, South Carolina will make a couple runs, and it's going to start with defense. As long as we get out there and play our defense the way we can, we should be able to beat this South Carolina team.
Jackson, last thing I got to ask you about. Go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off. Go ahead.
Oh, no, I was just going to say, I think this is a game that Arkansas knows going into it that they're going to win, or that they need to win, and they're going to go and get this done. I don't think Musselman is going to let them overlook this opponent at all. I really think that, they're going to be drilled into their heads all week, probably already has been. Got to win this game, going to win this game. Let's just take it one game at a time and move on to Kentucky.
Jackson also knows his music very well. We've talked about the nominees for the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame, and I kind of think they might need to take the words rock and roll off of it. Otherwise we're just going to be a little bit too puritanical about who's a rock artist and not. Jackson has some very specific thoughts about Warren Zevon, who most people know just for Werewolves of London. But he was known as like a songwriter in Los Angeles in the 70s, influenced a ton of people, and you might just know the one song, but there are a lot of artists in the hall right now that would point to Warren Zevon being one of their greatest influences, if not the greatest influence in their career. So I'll give you 60 seconds on Warren Zevon here, Jackson.
I think Warren Zevon is one of the great songwriters of all time, just personally. I was introduced to him by watching an old TV show called Californication in the early 2000s. Whenever the main character was an author, whenever he finished writing a book, his phrase would be whiskey, weed, and Warren Zevon. Started listening to him there, and he's just a great poet. He's a flawed character who really tried hard to redeem himself throughout his life, largely did so. Has written some of the most amazing lyrics of all time. He was a dear friend to David Letterman. He filled in with the Tonight Show band a lot. I think he played the Letterman show something like 10 to 17 times, something like that. And then for his last performance on Letterman before he died, he got to perform pretty much the entire hour-long show special was just Warren Zevon talking and playing his music. And it is just beautiful, and it's some of his best live work that he ever did, and he's sitting there dying. It's heartbreaking. It's all the things, but he is fantastic. Definitely recommend anybody that wants to explore him, listen to his album, Excitable Boy. Great album.
BetOnline remains your number one source for all your sports betting this season. Everything from the NFL and bowl season to esports. You'll find the latest odds, team matchup info, player news, and game trends at BetOnline. BetOnline features live betting, free contests, and live scores for almost any sport or game imaginable. We're the fastest and easiest way to bet on all your favorite leagues and events. Head to betonline.ag to join and receive a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit. Make sure to use the promo code BELIEVE to receive your rewards. That's BLEAV. Bet Online, where the game starts.